It's time for Justice for All, Behind the Badge video, streamed live from Team Toyota Route 1 in Langhorne with your host, Tom Mellon, featuring Bucks County District Attorney Matt Weintraub and Bucks County Sheriff Fred Herron. Here's your host from Team Toyota, Tom Mellon.
Good morning and welcome to Justice for All. I'm always excited about this show on WBCB 1490 and also 107.3 on the dial FM because I'm with my good friend here and your good friend, our Bucks County District Attorney Matt Weintraub. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
As always. And a special shout out to one of our big fans out there, Dan the Man Weintraub.
That's right.
Dan, thanks for listening in, and you did a great job with this young man here because he's a positive image in the county of Bucks here, that's for sure. I was with your friend here today, as I had mentioned, one of your contemporaries, Freddie Herron, who's doing the Bucks County Police Chiefs Association golf outing in Ben Salem Country Club. I asked him today, how many did you pick up? And as I mentioned to you, 176 golfers. That's going to go on for a little while.
Yes,
it's going to be more than 4 hours.
It will.
So and a lot of good positive swings. The weather, the golf gods created the perfect atmosphere for a great day today at Ben Salem Country Club. So Freddie, hit him straight if you can. I know it's going to be tough for him to do that, but obviously the purpose of this show, Justice for All, it's education more than anything, based on the experience, and there's a lot of it with our Bucks County District Attorney. We could go on and on and on about the accreditation and the qualifications that he has brought and presently continues to bring here in Bucks County as our number one prosecutor, the district attorney. Very important. And although don't be surprised or don't let the smile of Matt make you think that he's a softie, because he's not. He's a gentleman and a great friend and a good guy. But when it comes to crime, he will tackle the crime and make sure that anybody who thinks they can get away with something will be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. And that's where you'll see that serious face with Matt. We'll talk about some good articles that will be important for you to maybe understand a little bit, digest, and know a little bit more about crime, how important and effective it is for you as our civilian, the public, how they can cooperate and be a part of putting the bad guys where they belong, so that they're not hurting people out there. You're seeing some of the major cities in Philadelphia, Chicago, New York. They're just, oh God, every time you turn around there's a shooting. There was 3 police officers that were shot today, man.
It was terrible.
In Philadelphia.
I saw that.
I didn't get all the details on it, but it continues. And when are we going to realize that when you hear the word defunding the police by some people, some groups and organizations, you're only looking for more trouble and less safety for all of us out there. So it's really important to understand the effectiveness and the positive purpose for prosecution, and it begins with you, the civilian out there. We're going to talk a little bit about that, Matt. The public, how important it is for them to cooperate with any crime that they know to ensure taking it through all the steps for effective prosecution and putting people behind bars.
Yeah, I think there's a correct way to perceive it and an incorrect way to perceive it, but it's all based on hope and trust. And here in Bucks County, we're very fortunate, Tom, because the people that live here, they do have hope and they do trust their police, that if they call 911, their call will be responded to and their emergency will be dealt with properly, and that if they see something, they know that they should not be intimidated to say something, or if they wish to leave an anonymous tip, they can do that. That's a cultural thing. Here in Bucks County, people trust their law enforcement. We hold them to a very high standard, and that's justified. We all, I was thinking about this earlier, we all take an oath to serve with fidelity, and that's to adhere to a higher standard of conduct. And that I take that to heart, and I know that our give or take 1,000 police and peace officers in Bucks County do as well. But if you think about it compared to the numbers, there's about 650,000 people that live in Bucks County. Forget the additional ones that pass through or that work here or go to school here or even vacation here. That's a lot of people.
Is that what it's up to?
Yeah, it's just under 650 according to the last census, but we couldn't do it by ourselves.
No, absolutely not.
So
Absolutely not.
it's that bond that we in law enforcement share with the public. The public needs to have confidence in us, and they do, and we need to be able to rely on the public to be our eyes and ears, not to become vigilantes, but certainly we encourage people that if you see something, even if you suspect something is not quite right, call 911, call your local police. I myself have done it. I'm driving on the road. I don't even identify myself as who I am, just by name.
You
But
spot something.
I'll call 911. And I'll make a report. I've done it on a few occasions, and it's always been professionally received. I don't follow up afterwards. They get my name and number, but I believe in practicing what I preach.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's so important, to lead by example. And it's a good example for all of our civilians out there to understand, to keep, the community safe by being vigilant and just watching what's going on out there. I realize that there's a lot of guns out there and a lot of violence, but you can still be very careful and be very effective when you report a crime or any type of criminal activity.
I'd love to just expand on that for a
Please
second,
do.
Tom. So I ran for re-election last year, and one of the main platforms that I ran on was we were somewhat successful, though it's ongoing, in addressing individual issues and needs with drug addiction and mental health issues in my prior 4 years. And this 4 years, although we want to maintain those gains that we made in those areas, we wanted to tackle gun crimes in this 4 years.
Sure.
And we've taken a very focused and all-out approach to that, because I see what's happening in Philadelphia, and some of the reports that we were getting in Bucks County is that some of the guns that are being used in crimes or in these catch and release situations where somebody may be caught with an illegal gun,
Sure,
but yet either not prosecuted or not being sent to jail in Philadelphia, some of those guns were being illegally purchased in Bucks County.
Oh.
And I was dismayed to learn that. I guess I was not surprised, but it really crystallized it to me. So we've now partnered in the Bucks County DA's office with, of course, all of our local police agencies, but also with the state, with the Attorney General's office under Josh Shapiro, with our federal law enforcement partners, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, the DEA, and we've really, and our other counties. Kevin Steele, great partner. He's led the way in a lot of these joint prosecutions, these straw purchasers, any crime committed with a crime gun, or any illegal criminal that possesses a gun, any criminal that possesses a gun illegally.
Sure.
We've really cracked down, and I'm very proud of some of the progress that we've made. But I have to say, it's it is a direct reflection of what's going on just south of our border here in Bucks County. And I don't want that to creep up here. I want people to have confidence, to have faith that we are maintaining law and order here in Bucks County, and that the illegal proliferation of guns, the illegal straw purchases of guns, and I can explain what that means if you like,
Of course.
will not be tolerated here. Not only won't it be tolerated, but it will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Explain the straw purchase for those listening, because I think it's important for them to realize about people that are buying for someone else, right? Pretty much.
So what ends up happening is, by virtue of your past, a person may no longer be legally able to purchase a gun. Certainly if you have a prior felony conviction or some misdemeanor equivalents, which I'm not going to get into right now, or you could have a past history, you have a PFA or a mental health involuntary commitment in your past. They're not usually the ones that we worry about. It's usually the criminals that we worry about, the ones with the criminal background.
Sure.
And in order for them to perpetuate their criminal activity, what they need is access to guns. Well, They can either buy them on the street, but a much easier way to buy them where they can get a guarantee is they get somebody, a patsy, somebody that's maybe drug addicted or a girlfriend or somebody in an abusive relationship, to go and make these purchases for as though they were purchasing the guns for themselves. This is a person with no criminal record.
Right.
And we're prosecuting a couple of these cases. One was for profit, where this person was making, I don't know, $100 a purchase, which isn't really much.
No, it's not.
To put a crime gun out on the street. And he purchased upwards of 18 guns.
Jeez.
And unfortunately, we were able to trace back, finally, some of those guns, but not all of them, Tom, and that's the shame of it. But some of them were used in carjackings, in armed robberies.
Oh, my God.
They're used for the worst things you could possibly conceive of, and that's the danger of allowing a straw purchaser, a purchaser that's not purchasing for themselves, but rather pretending to purchase for themselves, but giving it to somebody that's not legally able to buy that gun themselves.
Is there any type of procedure or some type of a statute that would have to be followed and carried through with these gun dealers that are selling guns? If they spot, hey, this guy's coming in, with the technology today, there's a list of gun purchases by one person. Something's not working here, so that an investigation could begin.
So what the issue is yes, there are laws, and I would say that our Bucks County firearms dealers are very good followers of the laws and the regulations,
yes.
Because that's how they keep their license.
Of course.
The issue is volume. We have broken every record in gun sales in the last 3 years.
Jeez.
People have a right to be armed.
Sure.
And they're definitely taking that right to heart.
Yeah, they're making use of it.
Yeah. So and this is not an excuse, but it's searching for the figurative needles in this huge haystack. So what happens is all this data has to be entered by hand. It's entered by hand. Some are more equipped than others to enter the data. Some are one mom and pop shops or a single guy. But then what we're using is we're now using technology and data mining to be able to glean where maybe one person has made a number of purchases over just too short of a time. And then we can trace that back to maybe we can track that gun that we've recovered at a crime scene that was used in a crime, and then that'll lead us backwards to a straw purchaser. The other advantage that we have now is we do have a heavy hand in sentencing. So your first straw purchase, if you're convicted, there's a lot of discretion in sentencing. Not that you should get away with it, but
wake them up.
Yeah, wake them up. There you go. Great way to put it. But your second, third, fourth, fifth is under the Brad Fox law. And Brad Fox, sadly, he went to Tenon. He went to my alma mater, high school, but he was a cop in Montgomery County.
Okay.
And he was shot and killed on the job by a guy that had gotten a gun through a straw purchaser. So to honor his legacy, our state legislature passed a law to say that your second and subsequent convictions, each one has a 5-year mandatory minimum jail sentence.
Good.
Yeah, that sends a strong message to people that we will not permit this to happen.
Yeah, a zero tolerance for something like that.
Yes.
Certain aspects, I'm going to branch out a little bit because we're going to talk about some great cases today.
I hope so.
What do we have, Bree? Another minute or so? When we get back, I just want people to understand a little bit about, the steps, or not the steps, but how it works with a crime, beginning with a civilian, maybe possibly seeing something that occurred, reporting it to the police, probable cause that needs to be established, to the district attorney, and then to the courtroom. There's some sizable steps there from the instant of a crime, whether it's sight, circumstantial, something that's going on, to the very end, the end product.
There are a lot of steps.
Yeah, there aren't there, though? Yeah. But we'll begin with the end in mind when we return after a few words from some of our sponsors, Team Toyota being one of them, obviously.
A great partner.
He's a great partner.
Paul Muller.
Paul Muller. I call him the comedian. He's in the wrong profession, really.
Well, apparently not.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say that. Right. But, Paul, thank you for everything that you do. Justice for All will continue after a few words from our sponsors. Don't go anywhere.
Tom Mellon from Team Toyota. With the season finally changing, things in the car market are pretty much the same. You can wait for months to find a new car, or don't wait at all. With over 100 certified Toyotas in stock with low mileage and great warranties, you can drive one home today. Plus, get free maintenance and roadside assistance for 1 year. Or choose a budget-friendly used car that meets your financial and lifestyle needs. So start the season in your new used car at Team Toyota. Just visit teamtoyota.net.
Hi, this is Dick Vermeil for Independence Blue Cross. In all my years of coaching football, I've seen some really good arms, but none better than the winning arms I've seen lately, helping us to beat COVID-19. Right now, there are many of us who are showing our arms and lining up for vaccinations. When your opportunity comes, be ready. It's safe, effective, and rigorously tested, a key in the game plan to defeat the virus. For more information, visit ibx.com.
For more than 125 years, the Philadelphia Protestant Home has been family to seniors living independently or in personal care and skilled nursing. PPH is a premier community for affordable, quality care and vibrant living. Through its Benevolent Care Fund, PPH also provides peace of mind security to eligible residents who no longer can afford their living expenses. PPH offers spacious studio 1 and 2 bedroom apartments with balcony, patio, and garden view options. Call now to schedule a tour, 215-697-8000, or visit us on the web at pphfamily.org. At PPH, we're family.
When you want to relax, go to Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spas. They make relaxation affordable and convenient. Whether you want a rejuvenating massage or a refreshing facial, Hand and Stone is the place to go. Introductory massage or facials start at just $59.95. Visit handandstone.com or one of their 50 locations throughout southern New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania, including the Lehigh Valley.
And here we are back at 746 East Lincoln Highway, Matt. The proud sponsor, Paul Muller, who just happened to stop in. Come on over here, Paul. Say hello to everyone as or come back here. Paul Muller's been a sponsor of these shows for WBCB. Let's Go Places, Your Health with Tom Mellon. What are some of the other ones? Justice for All, Behind the Badge with Fred Herron. And he gives great back rubs. I'm telling you right now. He gives the best. Paul, go Phillies, right? Yeah, they're playing real well. Finally, we got a manager that's in place for the next 2 years. Oh, God. Phenomenal players. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them are young. Yes, they are. And that's the good thing. You got a good organization. Oh, yeah. Thanks for stopping in, Paul.
Great community partner, Paul
Yes,
Muller.
he is. Great community partner, absolutely. I'm glad he popped in. That was just perfect timing, wasn't it?
That was great.
Yeah, later on he'll tell me, you didn't talk about me walking in the door, but play the tape back, right, Bray?
That's right.
Anyhow, we're back with Matt Weintraub on some serious matters, just to educate you more, which is the purpose for this show. We were talking very much about the prosecution, how our civilians can get involved, straw purchases. Many people probably weren't aware of what the definition of a straw purchase is. We have straw purchases that we have to watch with cars. The same thing, Matt.
Really?
There are straw purchases. People will come in here and we pick it up right away because a person comes in with his identification and someone else who may not even be related, but they're friends. And all of a sudden when it comes down to the tactics where, we're going to title this in your name, yes, where's the car going to be rested? Where's it going to be parked? Who's going to be driving it? Oh, well, he's going to be driving. Well, hold on a minute. No. So there's a straw purchase involved with vehicles that we have to be very careful.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. But let's get back. Obviously, I wanted to talk for people, you hear it often, probable cause. What's probable cause in the eyes of justice and our detectives and when they go to an attorney to see if they have enough based on the information they're receiving. It could be a confidential informant. It could be a civilian. Probable cause. Explain a little bit for our listeners so that they'll understand that word and what it's all about.
Yeah, the good news here, Tom, is that we live in a free society. And what that means is somebody cannot just be locked up based on mere suspicion or a hunch. We can't charge a crime based on a mere suspicion or a hunch, let alone that we just don't like somebody.
Exactly.
Our political enemies, our rivals, what have you. You have to have not only a good faith legal basis, but you have to have actual evidence that points to the fact that A, a crime occurred,
Sure.
and B, that the person that you're accusing was the one that committed it. So there's this minimum threshold that we in law enforcement must meet before we can even charge somebody or before we can even enter a person's home to search it, or their car, or even their pocketbook to get records about them. And that standard is not just upheld by me, but by neutral and detached magistrates, they're called. But it could be a district judge, it could be a judge at big court, I call it the court in Doylestown, Court of Common Pleas.
Sure.
Or it's the same on a federal level by a federal magistrate or a federal district judge. And those are the checks and balances that make sure that, A, we have to have that probable cause, that minimum standard to suspect, to have evidence that a crime was committed, and to look for further evidence, and to believe in a case of an arrest that this is the person that committed the crime. It can't be a hunch, can't be a whim, can't be just a suspicion, and it can't be because you hate somebody. But not only do we have to have it, and many times we believe we have it, but there's somebody neutral and detached that is weighing in on whether we actually have it.
Sure. Sure.
And they're the ones where we'll make an application for an arrest, in an arrest warrant with a probable cause affidavit attached to it, or a search warrant with a probable cause affidavit attached to it. And you were alluding to this before, Tom. I liken the criminal justice process to building a house. You first thing you got to do is you got to pick a site, and then you got to hire all of the contractors. There's a general contractor involved. You got to get permission. The plans need to be approved. That's like your neutral and detached magistrate. And then one by one, you excavate. Then you put in the foundation. Then you build the structure. Then you put the siding on the outside, the drywall on the inside, the windows, and all of those steps must occur in order for that house to be successfully built for somebody to be able to inhabit it. Well, it's the same with when a crime occurs, that we then investigate it. Somebody may contact us, whether that's a private citizen or a police officer can see a crime, him or herself,
exactly,
and act on his or her own suspicions and investigation, and build up evidence to make a probable cause determination. But oftentimes, we will get tips from citizens. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from private citizens that say, "Hey, there's some guy at the Wawa down the street from me," and nobody knows better than the person that goes to that Wawa every day.
Absolutely.
And they say this guy is always here. He's always there at the same time. There's cars coming and going from his car, and it doesn't look right. It looks fishy to me.
Sure.
And to me, that's good instincts. And that's a good first tip for the police to start doing a surveillance on that car.
Great analogy here.
To build up maybe probable cause to see maybe that guy's a drug dealer. Run his tag. Do something that's non-invasive first to see who is this person. What's their reason for being there? Do they have any prior arrests for drug dealing? That kind of thing.
There you go.
And so it is. Sometimes police are acting on instinct. You chose this terrible example this morning. These 3 police officers were serving a warrant, I think, and they got into a gun battle. Now, there's no time really to think. They're acting on their training and their instincts. But most crime is detected, investigated, solved, and prosecuted in a very orderly fashion. And that's because there are a lot of checks and balances that need to occur. And we want to make sure, A, we're getting the right guy, and B, we're solving the crime in a proper fashion so that it will withstand scrutiny.
Yes.
Because even after the fact, let's say we're fortunate enough to get a conviction, whether that's by a guilty plea or through trial process, that then has to withstand the scrutiny of the appellate courts.
Yes, exactly.
So it's almost never over.
Yeah.
I myself have had some convictions that were overturned, not for anything nefarious that I did, but where the court may determine something just did not withstand the scrutiny and the clear reflection of Monday morning quarterbacking, if you will.
Sure, good way to put it.
I don't always agree, but I understand the need for that process to occur.
Boy, I'll tell you, the rights of the criminals sometimes are given a lot more than the rights of our civilians out there that are vulnerable to, to criminal activity and assaults and injuries.
Well, I'll agree with you in that a criminal does not care about your rights.
No, they don't care at all.
But on the flip side, and this is for anybody out there that's ever been accused of a crime, I would say this, that if I were ever accused of a crime, I would want to take comfort in knowing that I lived in the greatest country in the world that's also going to protect my rights. Because especially if I didn't do it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. And you explained that in one of your stories, one of our shows.
Yeah, I would want to take comfort in knowing that I enjoyed these protections. And I'll also say this, Tom. Some people say, well, the proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's such a high burden. And this is a classic tactic that we have in our closing arguments when the defense attorney gets up and says, they got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And they always, hammer on the table. And I say this. I say it's been the same standard for 250 years.
Right.
It's the same standard for a death penalty conviction as it is for prosecuting a red light. And we've been doing it this way for 250 years. It's not magic. It takes hard work. But if we've made our proof, then you can convict.
Despite the type of crime, as you just pointed out, whether it's a traffic violation or a homicide, something even more serious.
Yeah, and when you ground it to people in that respect, it demystifies it, and people feel like they can use their common sense and their everyday life's experiences. They can feel confident to make an anonymous tip to us on bucksda.org or to call our tip line and feel like they can be a part of the process and a part of something that works well.
Sure.
So I think that's something you were alluding to earlier.
Yes.
We want people not to become vigilantes, but we want people to feel that they can be involved, take pride in their neighborhoods, keep their own communities safe.
Yes.
By being our eyes and ears.
Oh, my God.
Reporting something. If you see something, hear something, you should say something.
How important is that? And Town Watch, you see these Town Watch communities, they're really very effective at working in tandem with the police. And often, inevitably, they end up putting someone away so that they're not harming anybody. So, all of these groups are a way to measure the success.
The other thing I think is there can be a perception. I don't know. I don't live in Philly, but I think that somebody that lives in Philly knows that they don't know the boundary between Bucks County and Philly, but they know they don't want to commit that same crime in Bucks County.
They don't.
Because there's accountability here.
Yes, there is. Big difference.
Yes. Well,
thanks to you.
I can only mind my own store here.
No, that's right.
My town, Bucks County.
Well, when you become Attorney General of the whole state, that'll be the next step.
You did not hear that here first. No. Tom is freelancing right
now. Yes,
I'm
freelancing. I'm campaigning for my buddy here. More from Matt. We're going to take another quick pause to mention our sponsors. Frank and Terry Colosi, are you enjoying this show, Frank? Terry? They're also very avid listeners to the show. I want to thank them for listening in. And we'll return after a few moments. Don't go away. We have a lot more to share with you.
Hi, Paul Mellon from Team Toyota. With the season finally changing, things in the car market are pretty much the same. You can wait for months to find a new car, or don't wait at all. With over 100 certified Toyotas in stock with low mileage and great warranties, you can drive one home today. Plus, get free maintenance and roadside assistance for 1 year. Or choose a budget-friendly used car that meets your financial and lifestyle needs. So start the season in your new used car at Team Toyota. Just visit teamtoyota.net.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Wayner Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one-stop shop for all your shopping needs at Fairless Hills.
At St. Mary Medical Center, they're on a mission to help you live your healthiest life. Learn more about their advanced technology and innovative procedures, as well as the small steps you can take to be your healthiest self. Meet their highly trained physicians and skilled professionals. Count on St. Mary for experience, brilliant technology, and the most powerful medicine of all, simple human kindness. St. Mary Healthline, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on 1490 WBCB.
Attention, all BCWSA customers in Bucks, Montgomery, and Chester counties. No BCWSA customers will face a shutoff of their water or sewer services until July 20th at the earliest. CEO Benjamin Jones would like to assure all BCWSA customers that the guarantee of clean water and sewer service will continue uninterrupted during these difficult times. BCWSA. Proven.
Are you curious what old antiques, collectibles, or household contents are worth? Listen Friday mornings for What's It Worth with Mike the Appraiser, right here on 1490 WBCB.
We're back here with Justice for All, my good friend and yours as well, Matt Weintraub, the Bucks County District Attorney. And once again, another great show, Matt. We can go on and we could probably sit and talk here for hours.
I think so.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do that someday. I don't know. I'm only kidding.
Maybe on a long bus ride
on
down
a long
to
bus
Washington,
ride?
D.C.
Yeah, we could do that and just have the show. We'll bring Bree on. We can do the show right on the bus. Get on the bus, Gus. With change the title a little bit with our Bucks County District Attorney, Matt Weintraub. But once again, I'll cover one other thing, and then we can talk about stories and some of the cases that you studied and prosecuted.
Sure.
But just explain to them about the safety mechanisms that are practiced and are employed to protect our informants, like our confidential informants. What constitutes a confidential informant? I know that as a police officer, many times I would have to prove to the ADAs that, well, this particular person has led to the conviction of certain people that are out there on the street, and they continue to work out there for us, meaning, our law providers, so that we can continue to prosecute these people.
This is a real hot button issue right now,
yeah.
Tom. So first of all, for people to understand what a confidential informant is, it can take a number of it's a person. First of all, it can take a number of forms. It can be a person that's almost a professional confidential informant. First of all, they have to be registered so that there is a way for, if it ever comes to this, for somebody neutral to understand exactly who the confidential informant is, for other people in this police agency to know that there is a central registry for the confidential informants. It's very important to know whether the informants are paid or whether they're doing this because perhaps they live in the community, and there can be isolated incidents where somebody wishes to remain anonymous. They're not the traditional confidential informant that you were just referring to.
Yes.
And we do get a lot of those as well. These are people that perhaps live in the community, or sometimes, frankly, it's like a jilted lover, an ex-wife, or an ex-husband.
Yeah.
I'm not using a specific case in my mind, but
possible.
they often are our tipsters. But whenever we are asked to maintain the confidentiality of an informant, we will do so. And to an extreme extent, Tom. And what I mean by that is that if we get to, if we build a case and we rely on a confidential informant, and if we file any kind of paperwork relying on that confidential informant's information, whether it's a search warrant or an arrest warrant, we will put that confidential informant's pedigree in there, meaning the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's important. Not their identity, But if they've have convictions, if they've served as a confidential informant before, if they've been paid, because that's, while we don't want to reveal who they are,
absolutely,
we do want to be transparent about their past. But, well, two things. Number one, we will never make an arrest just on a confidential informant say-so. It's usually the igniter of the process. It's a way to get a good foot in the door into an investigation where then the police can take over, or Ronald Reagan had a great saying, trust but verify.
There you go. Okay.
And so while a confidential informant's information may bear out and be truthful, we never will ever rely just on a CI. We call them a CI's information to make an arrest.
Sure.
We will always want to corroborate that, whether it's with our own eyes and ears, whether it's with video, it's with audio.
Right.
In the case of drug buys, you send a person in with money, they come out with drugs, but we want to make a book on that. And then if a case goes through the court process, and the defense often, and I would too if I were a defense attorney, will file a motion to get us to reveal who the confidential informant is.
Frightening.
We will fight that tooth and nail. We'll say we have an independent basis, corroborate the confidential informant. There is no need, and this would be a danger to that person's life and would discourage people from coming forward. It is rare. I can count on one hand the times where we've lost that motion and been forced to reveal who the confidential informant is.
Yeah.
And you know what we do? We dismiss the case.
To protect that individual.
Yes.
It's worth it. I hate this. It's
a tough one. It's a tough call.
Yeah.
But that's the principle by which we operate.
Well, that's important for the viewers to know that. You know, here in Bucks County, that's your belief, and that's one of the protective measures.
It is. It is. Like it or not, this is how we get our information. There's another great saying. There's no swans in the sewers. Crimes conceived in hell don't have angels as witnesses. All this goes to say, who do you think knows about the crime? Sometimes it's the criminals. It's other criminals. Sometimes it's other people that are engaged in the life.
Yes.
They're the ones that know who the drug dealers are because either they've
Absolutely.
partaken. But as I said, it could also be a concerned citizen that fears reprisals, and we will go to the extreme lengths to protect a confidential informant's identity.
So important. I'm glad I brought that up because I think it's important.
Yeah.
For people to realize that you're protected in every measure, so that if you do see a crime, please cooperate and help our law enforcement officials, as well as when it gets to the judicial level through our district attorney. All important stuff. Let's cover a case.
All
Which
right,
one would you like to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I know.
One that. What do we have, Bree? How much time? 20 minutes. About 20 minutes.
All right, well, we
can probably cover one, and we'll have more for you each and every. I'm sorry, I just had too much other things to ask you.
This is great stuff.
Yeah,
people want to know.
Yes, it's education, right?
It is.
But let's cover a case. Which one do you think you can cover in about 15 or 20 minutes?
Yeah. Well, I could start talking about the Carlos DiNardo case.
And then go into it later.
Yeah, I know
next
people
show.
Always, any time that I'm ever approached, that is the case that people in Bucks County have the most interest in and the most, I think, the most connection to here.
Yes.
And just by way of background, Tom, this was a case that we investigated and prosecuted, and I can't believe it, but it's 5 years ago. This past July, 5 years ago. Yeah, and people feel like it was yesterday. It really, really struck a chord in our community. And when I often talk about Bucks County as our town, and to. I can and I have spoken for hours about this, so I don't think that there's any fault in talking about this today. And then even
cover it. Cover it in another
one.
Yeah.
But I love these questions. But so
aren't they good?
Yeah, they were great. Did you think of those? You definitely
did.
To give you some background, and I'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
So I remember this was it was July 2017, and I myself had been appointed the district attorney. I had not been elected yet. I was running for election. I had been appointed that prior September. So that gives you a little perspective. I wasn't even really, I was the district attorney, but I had not been validated, I guess, by the voters.
Okay, interim, the interim district attorney, like
that always gets me in the gut,
like our manager of the Phillies, right?
Yeah, well, no, he just got a 2-year contract.
Got a 2-year contract,
so,
right?
Yeah, I was still playing for my 2-year contract, I guess, at that point, or 4-year contract.
There you go. There's such similarities with sports and crime. My God,
I guess so. So we could do this for hours.
Yes, we could.
By the way,
yeah.
So it's July, and I'm not taking any of this for granted. And so some of what we do, as you know, is proactive. We set up, we do programs. We're actively policing out there. But a lot of what we do, sadly, is reactive, meaning something terrible happens, and we have to spring into action.
Yeah.
And really, sadly, it's often after something like the worst case scenario. And I always say to people, if I could turn back the clock and make all of that go away, even forfeiting my position.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
I would do it.
Sure.
I would do it.
Sure.
But that's just, not how reality works. So I remember it was an incredibly hot July day. And I was actually mixing campaigning with business, meaning I was riding around the county. I was knocking on doors, introducing myself to voters. I was also attending functions as the district attorney. It was just one of these Sundays in July where it was crazy busy. And all throughout the day, I'm getting updates from my then first assistant DA, who is reporting to me. And the way my office is structured is there's always an assistant DA on duty 24/7, 365. So that any police officer that needs to talk to a DA, whether it's an investigative decision or a charging decision, calls our radio room, calls 911. We call it the radio room, and they get one of us. And in this instance, he's giving me updates. And this is the update that I recall that really, really crystallized this in my mind as something more than routine. First of all, for him to contact me, that's not routine. Because most of this stuff, I mean, it's funny. Everybody, and I like it that people think this. It's just, it couldn't possibly be the case, is everybody thinks that I know about every case that's going on in Bucks County, which I love that people think that. I just can't possibly do that.
Yeah, you're only one person.
Yeah. But oftentimes people come up to me, oh, yeah, you probably know about this case in Pendel. And I'm like, well, I don't, but I'll look into it. I always promised I would look into it.
Yes.
But so the point is that we have a staff of 100. And for it to even get to the first assistant, it's already got to be serious. And for him to contact me, it's got to be really serious.
Yes.
So he calls me, and he says, we're working on 4 different missing young men, from 3 of them from different parts of the county and a 4th from Montgomery County who's friends with one of the 3. And so in my mind, I automatically, sometimes to my advantage, sometimes to my disadvantage, make connections very quickly. So I say to him, well, 4 missing young men, they're all the same age, they have some connections probably, we don't know what they are. It's a gorgeous hot Sunday in July. They're all down the shore. They're all in Wildwood.
That's what you would think.
That's immediately where I go to. And I say this to him. And he says to me, all 4 of their phones are turned off.
Well, that started allowing you to sniff a little differently.
Tom, every time I say, and I even right just now, it's like a trigger, I get chills.
Wow.
I get the chills. And I remember running through it in my head thinking, oh my God, this is going to be horrific. I don't know what the end is going to be. This is going to be horrific. And boom, all of your attention is laser focused on this. So I continued to get updates throughout the day because there was none of the dots had been connected yet. it was that was the first problem.
Yes.
We didn't know who was who and related to who, and there was no connective tissue. We're building this house.
Of course.
We you got a plumber and you got this and this, but not all together. So little by little that day, we start to construct that there was one connection between these four guys, and it was this fifth young man, Carlos DiNardo. And then we start to be able to trace their whereabouts, that they all had some connection to him, and also to a property in Solebury Township, which, if you know anything about Bucks County, is gorgeous. I mean, first of all, this property was gorgeous.
Sure.
It was wild and vast, 90 acres. And so that's really how the thing, I always call it vectoring, like vectoring to a point.
Mm-hmm.
Starts vectoring towards looking at Cosmo DiNardo and starts vectoring towards this property. And I can get into some of the nitty-gritty. I think we're short on time here. But I can tell you how those two parallel tracks really started to coalesce internally and then coalesce together, and how we managed all of that. It was the most intense thing professionally that I have ever been through in my life.
My gosh. Well, when we come back after a quick word from our sponsor, we'll continue with this thought so that our listeners can follow it as well. I know we have a little bit of time, not too much time. We could go on forever, but we'll return after a couple of words from our sponsors, and we'll promise that this will continue on our next show. We'll return in a moment.
Hi, Paul Muller from Team Toyota. With the season finally changing, things in the car market are pretty much the same. You can wait for months to find a new car, or don't wait at all. With over 100 certified Toyotas in stock with low mileage and great warranties, you can drive one home today. Plus, get free maintenance and roadside assistance for 1 year. Or choose a budget-friendly used car that meets your financial and lifestyle needs. So start the season in your new used car at Team Toyota. Just visit teamtoyota.net.
Puss in Boots Tavern and Takeout, located on Trent Road in Fairless Hills, is your hometown spot, open daily for lunch and dinner with spacious indoor and heated outdoor dining. During football season, call 215-295-8236 to place your order, or visit on Facebook at pussinbootstavern.com. Puss in Boots is following CDC guidelines, keeping you, our #1 fan, safe. Puss in Boots is open with a new menu, and it's good!
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we know Saturdays in the fall are special. Why? College football. And we have you covered with food and drink specials and the best in-game experience to watch your team or the college football game of the week. Come watch Penn State, Temple, Villanova, Notre Dame, Texas, Michigan, Georgia, and more. College football Saturdays are special at Chickies and Pete's.
We're back with Justice for All. One of the main reasons that we want you to continue with these shows, not only for an education, but also the effectiveness of your district attorney and his group that continue to do a great job. And we're going to continue this DiNardo case. There's just, it would be like putting 100 pounds of dirt in a 5-pound bag to try and fit it in toward the end of this show.
Yeah.
But Matt, right back to you, how you were vectoring the two and how they did coalesce with each other.
So what happened, Tom, is I end up the investigation. There were 3 separate investigations into missing people, and as you know, in order to really concrete establish that somebody's missing, it can't be instant. I'm sure that you, as a former police officer, would get so many calls. Oh, my son or daughter is missing. My adult son or daughter is missing.
Yes.
And of course, you think like I think. Well, it's just too soon. You can't expend a lot of resources on finding missing people that just either don't want to be found or don't even know that they're considered missing. But this became pretty evident to us that in these 3 instances, and the 4th being Mark Sturgis from Montgomery County, that they were actually missing. They had not been heard from their loved ones, and all their patterns, their normal patterns of behavior were disrupted. There was clearly something wrong.
Yes.
And some great police work by then police officer named Megan Freer from Middletown PD, and she was a former Philly police officer.
There you go.
She was trained well and right.
Yeah.
She had just some great instincts, and she was just a patrol officer. But she asked her chief, Joe Barbarilla, could she pursue this lead on this missing? It was Dean Finicaro from Middletown. And he let her. He could have said, nope, you're doing shift work. You can't pursue this. Hand it to the next guy.
Yes.
And, once that chain gets broken, the momentum, you lose that momentum. That can kill an investigation.
It enervates it. It really does.
Yeah. So he gave her the wherewithal to pursue it, not only to pursue it, but to go to where it led physically, which was to Solebury. So you have a Middletown patrol officer going to Solebury, checking license plate readers, and finally going to not this huge Solebury farm that I speak about, but an adjunct property which was close by but not right there, both owned by the DiNardos, in which there was a little garage and a car found that was owned by one of the boys.
Oh, my God.
And in it, and this was critical, and I'm going backwards and forwards a little bit to make some sense here.
Sure.
In it, we eventually found it was Tommy Mayo's car. He was missing from Plumstead, and it was his car and his diabetes kit
was
goodness.
in
there. His insulin kit was in there.
Even more for you to be worried about now.
Because we checked, and he couldn't live without it.
Oh, boy.
There would be like abandoning his lifeline. For
How
him
long
to
has this been, going on now, too?
Well, now it's 48 hours,
Oof.
72 hours. He's going without his insulin.
Yeah, not good.
It's bad. But so she was able to show that Mayo and Sturgis, who worked together, were seen on a license plate reader in Solebury, and then we find this car there. Just some great legwork. She's now a detective. I give her credit. She's now a detective.
God bless her.
Middletown PD.
Yeah.
But so what that caused us to do was really to focus on this farm. And during the break, you mentioned cadaver dogs. So we're fearing the worst, of course. But you want to know what you're dealing with, and it'll be a little graphic. On this farm, it's right off of 202. You drive in 202 north, and you turn to the left. Now there's a gate. It's like a visceral reaction. Every time I drive up there now, I turn and look
You're
left.
looking at it.
I can't help it.
No.
But so it's a long road, a long driveway up to this. I'll call it just a little compound. It's like 3 buildings. One's a house, one's a farmhouse, and then there's a third building. I forget what it is. But then after that, it's just a farm field with crops, and then it's just wild. It's wild.
Wow.
And vast and beautiful, but vast. So we go into the barn, and these are things that I knew that the public didn't know, that the media didn't know, because I'm trying to allow for sometimes I have to act as a force field to protect the police so they can do their work unmolested.
Yes.
And so they can have some of the air of not investigative secrecy, but to be able to catch a criminal unawares, we need to know at least what they know, if not more than they know. So I am starting on Monday having and I was given some good advice, but it ended up being a lot of pressure, but I think it matched my skill set, Tom, and everybody has to do to their skill set. But my comms director at the time, Larry King, God bless him, he's retired now, he says to me, you need to control the message. You need to protect these guys to help them by letting them keep doing what they're doing so they're not bombarded with questions, etc.
Sure.
You need to give 2 press conferences a day. Like 2 press conferences a day. I've given maybe 2 in my career.
Now you're doing 2 a day.
2 a day. He says, well, this thing is big and getting bigger and bigger, and if you don't control the flow of information, they will report it anyway and they will make it up.
Wow.
So that rung a bell with me.
Good point.
I said, okay. I'll give it a try. We don't know what's going to happen till we do. But so to bounce backwards, in this barn, it is evident that somebody was murdered in there. There's no body. There's no body, but there is blood and brain matter.
Oh boy!
In this barn, and so I know already that if I can put this on somebody, that I'm going to charge this person, whoever it is, with at least a murder.
A murder, right?
Even though I don't have a body, I don't. It's not material to me, because I would get any expert to say, look, a person, and we would be able to identify who the deceased is even by their remains in that barn with DNA evidence.
DNA evidence, exactly.
That the person would not survive those wounds. They would not survive those wounds.
Exactly.
And they're still missing, so presumptively they're dead.
They're dead, right. Even without a body, as you pointed out.
Yes, which are difficult cases.
Yes,
but
they are.
So I'm armed with this knowledge, and it's terrible knowledge to carry around, but that's what we all collectively knew. So we get Philadelphia and the Pennsylvania State Police, I think it was, or it could have been 2 Philly dogs, 2 cadaver dogs from Philly come up with their handlers.
Here we
from
go.
Philly Police.
Yes.
God bless these dogs. I don't know the science. I don't understand the science, only to tell you that a dog's nose is like about 10,000 times more sensitive than a human's nose. And what these dogs do is obviously they start at the barn, but then they go in that general area there where there's like a little clearing, almost like a common driveway / parking area for these outbuildings, and they hit on 5 different individual sites in this area where it is clear that heavy construction equipment has been used to move and manipulate concrete. The DiNardo family is in the concrete business. And there's
how convenient for this guy.
As it turns out, yeah. Although not for long. But and there is a huge what they call it, a backhoe.
Okay.
Huge backhoe there.
Right there
on the property.
One of the instruments of crime.
Yes. So this is Monday, and I'm already having these. Well, I have the first press conference, and it's all the regulars, 3, 6, 10, Fox, the print media is
They're
there.
all
And
there.
I'm kind of used to seeing them, but little by little, I'm seeing more and more and more. So finally, we got to move to a different location, and in the meantime, the dogs have hit on these 5 spots. So because we suspect that there will be human remains buried in the ground, Tom.
Yeah.
You can't just take a backhoe and scoop it all back up.
No.
Because you'll damage evidence.
Part of the physical evidence.
Let alone any human remains that you find. So in a painstaking but incredibly professional process, we call in the FBI. They have an evidence recovery team. Mike Burns, shout out to him. He's now retired. God bless you, sir.
Yeah.
He and his team of professionals come in, and with our permission and acquiescence, and I have to give credit, there were over 200 law enforcement officials involved in this entire process.
So you had collaboration of professionals.
State, local, federal, and I never saw people sublimate their egos, put their egos aside, and work better together than I did in this instance.
Matt, can we hold up right there?
Yes.
So that we can come back on our next show to continue. I mean, you have these shows on television, one episode into the next, but we'll come back with the crime scene, the physical evidence that obviously the cadavers are sniffing out, and we'll continue from there if that's great.
Sure.
Justice for all, once again, folks. We'll be obviously back to you with this DiNardo case, and that's how we'll begin, right at the foremost of our show when we start next month.
Or maybe we'll even start at the beginning. Who knows?
Or we may start at the beginning just to
We'll
go
see.
over some things. We'll cover some steps as well. But thanks for hanging in. I want to give a shout out, Matt, to my daughter, Diane Marie Adamchek, who is now an Esquire. She passed. She passed the bar examination. Isn't that great?
That's excellent.
I'll be introducing her to you.
Great job, Diane Marie
Yes,
Adamchek.
Diane Marie Adamchek. I'm so proud of you. Stay focused, which I know you will. You've took a big burden on raising a family, full-time job. You continued your education, graduated, from law school, Delaware Law School. And Diane, I know you're going to make a wonderful prosecutor and anything else that you may lead into. Matt's proud of you. Hasn't met you yet, but he will.
Tell her to give me a call.
Absolutely. I want to thank Matt again for being here. And as I say at the end of all of our shows, and make sure that you make our next, you continue to watch our shows. They're filled with a lot of good things for you to learn and understand about the District Attorney's Office here in Bucks County and what they're all about. But be safe, stay well, don't text while you drive. And Jerry, I'm coming home to walk the dog very soon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.